Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's group nutrition call. Today, I want to talk about a nutrition myth that's been around for decades, and it's one that many of us have probably heard at some point or another, and that is the idea that carbs are bad for you. If you've ever tried a low-carb diet or been told to avoid carbs for your health or weight loss, or stay away from foods like pasta or rice to lose weight or improve your health and your weight loss journey, you've probably encountered this myth. Um, and oftentimes it feels like carbs are the bad guys in the world of nutrition. But I'm here to tell you today that carbs are not always the enemy. In fact, they can be an important part of a healthy, balanced diet and your weight loss journey. So let's dive into why carbs have gotten such a bad reputation and why this information is not always accurate or appropriate. Um, First, let's talk about how this myth started. Many people started to embrace low carb diets like the Atkins and the keto diet, which claim that cutting out carbs is the ultimate solution for weight loss, energy, and overall health. And with these diets, people started to see quick results and they became very popular and overly promoted as the key to health, weight loss, and longevity. Kind of like a cookie cutter approach to help people get quick results without looking at long-term effects and individualized needs, or even considering nutrient gaps or deficiencies that could happen from that. Um, these diets may work for some people in the short term, but they've also fueled the misconception that carbs are inherently bad. And the truth is, carbs are not bad. They are an essential macronutrient that our bodies rely on every day, and avoiding them altogether can lead to significant nutrient gaps and even deficiencies. So why do we need carbs? Carbs are our body's primary source of energy. When we eat carbs, our body breaks them down into glucose, which is used as a fuel for essentially almost all of our bodily functions. In fact, glucose is a preferred energy source for our brain, our central nervous system, and our muscles. And without enough glucose, we can feel sluggish, have fatigue, feel moody, experience brain fog, all of those symptoms. So the myth that carbs make you gain weight easily um, comes from the fact that carbs, like anything else, can contribute to weight gain if consumed in excess. However, weight gain occurs when we eat more than we burn, whether those calories come from carbs or fats. And it's not about eliminating carbs, but rather about balance and moderation within our plate, within each of our meals that we consume each day. Um, Carbs are also important for digestion. Many carbohydrates, especially those from grains, fruits, and vegetables, are rich in fiber. And fiber helps regulate your digestive system. It supports your gut health, feeds your microbiome, and keeps you feeling full for much longer. It also helps to manage blood sugar levels, and which is very important for everyone, but especially when we're thinking about hormone balance, insulin response, and weight loss. While carbohydrates are not bad for us, there is a difference between types of carbohydrates, and not all carbohydrates are created equal. While carbohydrates are an important source of energy, the quality of the carbohydrates you eat is just as important as the quantity. And there are two main categories of carbohydrates: simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates, these are often referred to as the bad carbs, but that's not always the case. Simple carbs are sugars that are quickly digested and absorbed by your body. However, not all simple carbs are created equal either. Refined sugars found in candy, soda, pastries, and other processed foods can spike your blood sugar levels, which are then often followed by a crash in energy and blood sugar. This can lead to energy slumps throughout your day, mood swings, and even more cravings for even more sugar and carbs. These are the kind of simple carbs that we want to limit or avoid altogether in our diet. And then we have complex carbs. These are often referred to as the good carbs and are found in foods like whole grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Complex carbs are digested more slowly, providing a steady source of energy. They also tend to be higher in fiber again, which helps with digestion and blood sugar and keeping you feeling satisfied for longer, as we've already talked about. Examples of those complex carbohydrates would be things like brown rice, quinoa, oats or oatmeal, sweet potatoes, and beans. The key takeaway here is that healthy carbs essentially are whole, unprocessed foods that are nutrient dense and packed with fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And the so-called bad carbs, on the other hand, are refined and processed and often stripped of all of their nutrients and fiber. So, what is the connection between carbs and weight loss? One of the most common reasons people cut carbs out of their diet or reduce intake is for weight loss. Many people believe that cutting out carbs will lead to faster weight loss, but the reality is that it is much more complicated than that. While low carb diets can work for some people in the short term by reducing caloric intake and causing water loss, they're not sustainable for everyone. And for some people, it can lead to nutrient deficiencies, weight that easily returns, and hormonal changes. Because our bodies need for carbs for energy, and when you drastically reduce your carb intake, if you are not in ketosis, this can negatively impact your metabolism. Plus, when you cut out carbs, you may miss the essential nutrients that we find in fruits, vegetables, and other whole foods, carbohydrates. Instead of cutting carbs entirely, focusing on eating the right kind of carbs in moderation is much healthier and creates much more balance. For example, swapping out refined grains like white bread for whole grains like brown rice is a simple change that can make a big difference. Additionally, when you pair carbs with protein and healthy fats, you can help stabilize your blood sugar levels and avoid insulin spikes and crashes that can lead to hunger, cravings, and weight gain. Beyond weight management, carbohydrates also play a role in long-term health. Research has shown that diets high in fiber-rich carbohydrates, like those from fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, are linked to lower risks of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and other conditions that can affect us long term. And to give you an example, fruits and vegetables contain antioxidants, which help fight inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which can contribute to chronic disease. Fiber also plays a key role in regulating blood sugar levels, as we already talked about, improving cholesterol and supporting that digestive health and the microbiome. So what should we take away from all of this? And that is, the next time you hear someone say that carbs are bad, I want you to remember carbs are not inherently bad. In fact, they're essential to our energy, health, and well-being. The key is to focus on eating the right types of carbs, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes, while limiting or avoiding altogether those refined carbs that are high in sugar. By including healthy carbs in your diet and focusing on balance and moderation, you can fuel your body the right way, maintain a healthy weight, and reduce your risk for chronic diseases. So enjoy your meals, eat a variety of whole foods, and don't be afraid to embrace carbs in their most nutritious form. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you walk away with a little bit of a better understanding of why carbs can be helpful to achieving a healthy and balanced life.